In the heart of ancient Africa, in a land where the sun kissed the earth with relentless warmth and the rivers sang songs of life, there lay the kingdom of Zimwanda. This kingdom was rich with verdant forests, golden savannas, and hills that shimmered under the morning dew. It was a land where the lion roared with pride and the elephant strode with majesty. Among this splendor, the people of Zimwanda lived in harmony with nature and each other under the rule of their wise and benevolent king, Mwamba. King Mwamba had ascended to the throne during a time of great prosperity. His father, King Bakari, had left behind a legacy of peace and wealth, having forged alliances with neighboring tribes and safeguarded the kingdom's resources. Mwamba, inheriting this stable and thriving realm, was determined to uphold his father's legacy and further elevate the prosperity of Zimwanda. He was known for his fairness, his intelligence, and his profound respect for the traditions of his people. Mwamba's palace was a marvel to behold, built from the finest wood and stone, adorned with intricate carvings that depicted the kingdom's rich history. It stood on a hill overlooking the capital city, Nzinga, a bustling hub of trade and culture. The marketplace of Nzinga was a vibrant tapestry of sights and sounds, where traders from distant lands came to exchange goods, spices, textiles, precious metals, and stories. Despite the kingdom's prosperity, King Mwamba faced challenges that tested his leadership. The most significant of these challenges was the growing influence of foreign traders who sought to exploit the land's wealth. These traders brought with them not only exotic goods, but also new ideas and ambitions that threatened to disrupt the harmony of Zimwanda. Among them were the Europeans, who were particularly interested in the vast resources that Zimwanda had to offer. Mwamba was a cautious ruler. He knew that the introduction of foreign elements into his kingdom could lead to unforeseen consequences. He convened regular meetings with his council of elders, wise men who represented the various clans and held deep knowledge of the land and its people. Together, they devised strategies to manage foreign relations and protect the kingdom's interests. One fateful day, a group of European traders arrived at Nzinga. They were led by a man named Captain Edward, a shrewd and ambitious trader with a keen eye for profit. Captain Edward presented himself at Mwamba's court, bringing gifts of fine cloth, shiny trinkets, and powerful weapons. He spoke of mutually beneficial trade and the wonders of European technology. Mwamba, always courteous and open-minded, listened carefully but remained skeptical. Captain Edward's true intentions became clear during a private audience with the king. He proposed an exchange that would alter the course of Zimwanda's history, gold and goods in return for people. Edward spoke of the growing demand for labor in the New World, where plantations required workers to cultivate the land. He painted a picture of wealth and prosperity for Zimwanda, suggesting that selling prisoners of war and criminals could bring untold riches to the kingdom. Mwamba was appalled by the proposal. The idea of selling his people regardless of their status was abhorrent to him. He rejected Edward's offer outright, stating that his kingdom would never partake in such a vile practice. However, Edward was persistent, and he knew that where direct offers failed, subtlety might succeed. He began to foster relationships with some of Mwamba's advisors, whispering promises of wealth and power in their ears. As time passed, the pressures on Mwamba increased. Drought struck parts of Zimwanda, causing crop failures and food shortages. The once thriving kingdom faced economic hardship, and murmurs of discontent began to rise among the people. Some of the king's advisors, swayed by Edward's promises, started to see the trade in human lives as a viable solution to their problems. Mwamba's resolve was tested as never before. He clung to his principles, striving to find alternative ways to alleviate his people's suffering. He initiated new agricultural projects, encouraged trade with other African kingdoms, and even attempted to negotiate more favorable terms with the Europeans. But the allure of quick riches was powerful, and the seeds of betrayal had already been sown within his court. Among those closest to Mwamba was his brother, Nyoroge. Unlike Mwamba, Nyoroge was ambitious and impatient. He saw the kingdom's struggles as a sign of weakness in his brother's leadership. Nyoroge believed that embracing the European trade could bring him the power and wealth he desired. He began to conspire with Edward, planning to overthrow Mwamba and take the throne for himself. The tension in Zimwanda reached a boiling point when a particularly severe drought led to widespread famine. Desperation gripped the land, and the people, once loyal to their king, began to question his ability to lead them through such hardships. Nyoroge seized this opportunity to turn the tide in his favor. He gathered a faction of disillusioned advisors and warriors, promising them prosperity if they supported his bid for the throne. On a dark and stormy night, Nyoroge made his move. He led a coup against Mwamba, attacking the palace with the help of mercenaries supplied by Captain Edward. The battle was fierce, and many brave warriors of Zimwanda fell defending their king. Mwamba fought valiantly, but was ultimately captured and imprisoned by his own brother. Nyoroge declared himself the new king of Zimwanda. His first act was to sign a deal with Captain Edward, agreeing to trade prisoners and criminals for gold and goods. This marked the beginning of a dark chapter in Zimwanda's history, as the once proud kingdom became entangled in the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. From his prison cell, Mwamba could only watch helplessly as his beloved kingdom descended into chaos and suffering. He knew that his brother's reign would bring nothing but misery to the people of Zimwanda. Despite his captivity, Mwamba vowed to find a way to free his people from the chains of betrayal and restore the honor of his kingdom. Under the new rule of Nyoroge, Zimwanda's once thriving heart began to falter. The palace, once a symbol of unity and strength, now stood as a grim reminder of treachery. Nyoroge, intoxicated by power and wealth, implemented Captain Edward's plan with ruthless efficiency. The capital city, Nzinga, saw the construction of holding pens where prisoners of war, criminals, and even innocent villagers were confined, awaiting their grim fate. The market, once vibrant with the sounds of trade and laughter, now echoed with the cries of despair. The scent of fear was palpable, and the people of Zimwanda, who had once walked with pride, now moved with their heads bowed, haunted by the specter of capture. Nyoroge's mercenaries patrolled the streets, their presence a constant reminder of the new order. Among those imprisoned was Mwamba. Though confined, his spirit remained unbroken. From his cell, he could see the suffering of his people, and it fueled his determination to reclaim his throne. He began to communicate secretly with those still loyal to him, forming a resistance within the shadows of his brother's oppressive rule. Mwamba's loyalists were not many, but they were committed. Among them was Kato, a trusted warrior known for his cunning and bravery. Kato moved through Nzinga with the stealth of a leopard, gathering intelligence and coordinating with allies in neighboring tribes. They formed a clandestine network, passing messages and supplies in the dead of night. One night, as the moon cast a pale glow over the kingdom, Kato managed to slip into Mwamba's cell. They spoke in hushed tones, their voices barely audible over the howling wind. Kato relayed news of their efforts, and Mwamba, ever the strategist, devised a plan to undermine Nyoroge and Captain Edward. Mwamba's plan was to strike at the heart of the slave trade operation. They would need to free the prisoners and disrupt the deals being made with the Europeans. It was a dangerous plan, one that required precise coordination and the element of surprise. Kato and the loyalists began to prepare, recruiting those who still believed in Mwamba's vision for Zimwanda. Meanwhile, Nyoroge, blinded by his newfound wealth and power, grew increasingly paranoid. He knew there were those who opposed him, and he tightened his grip on the kingdom. His mercenaries conducted raids, capturing anyone suspected of disloyalty. The kingdom lived in a state of fear, but within this darkness, the seeds of rebellion were taking root. The day of reckoning came on the eve of a major transaction between Nyoroge and Captain Edward. Under the cover of a moonless night, Kato and the resistance launched their attack. They moved swiftly, freeing prisoners and clashing with Nyoroge's mercenaries. The air was filled with the sounds of battle, the clanging of weapons, and the cries of the oppressed reclaiming their freedom. In the chaos, Mwamba himself joined the fray, fighting alongside his people. His presence inspired those around him, and they fought with renewed vigor. The battle was fierce, but the element of surprise was on their side. One by one, the mercenaries fell or fled, and the resistance made their way to the palace. Inside the palace, Nyoroge faced his brother. The two stood at opposite ends of the grand hall, the tension between them palpable. Nyoroge, armed and desperate, lunged at Mwamba. The clash was brief but intense, a culmination of the simmering conflict that had torn the kingdom apart. Mwamba, fueled by his righteous anger and the support of his people, overpowered Nyoroge. With a final decisive blow, the usurper fell. Silence filled the hall as Mwamba stood over his fallen brother, the weight of what had transpired settling over him. Captain Edward, realizing his plan had failed, attempted to flee. But the people of Zimwanda, now united in their defiance, captured him and his remaining men. They were brought before Mwamba, who decreed that they would face justice for their crimes against the kingdom. With Njoroge defeated and the slave trade operation dismantled, Mwamba began the arduous task of rebuilding. The scars of betrayal and suffering were deep, but the spirit of Zimwanda was resilient. Under Mwamba's restored leadership, the kingdom slowly began to heal. The people of Zimwanda, inspired by their king's unwavering resolve, worked together to restore their homeland. They rebuilt their homes, revived their traditions, and re-established the bonds that had once made their kingdom strong. And as the sun rose over the land, its warm rays symbolized a new beginning for Zimwanda, a testament to the strength and unity of its people. In the aftermath of Njoroge's fall, Zimwanda embarked on a path of renewal. Mwamba, now reinstated as king, turned his focus to mending the fractured bonds and restoring the spirit of his people. His first act was to call upon the Council of Elders, seeking their wisdom in guiding the kingdom through these turbulent times. The council gathered in the great hall, their faces lined with the marks of age and experience. Mwamba addressed them with a voice firm yet filled with humility, acknowledging the kingdom's recent wounds and expressing his vision for a united and prosperous Zimwanda. The elders, moved by his sincerity, pledged their support. One of the first tasks was to undo the damage wrought by the slave trade. Mwamba decreed the immediate release of all captives held within the kingdom. The gates of the holding pens were thrown open, and families torn apart by Njoroge's tyranny were reunited in tearful embraces. The air was filled with a renewed sense of hope as the freed captives began to rebuild their lives. Mwamba also sought to fortify Zimwanda against future threats. He initiated the construction of stronger defenses around Nzinga and the key villages of the kingdom. Skilled artisans and laborers worked tirelessly, creating fortifications that blended seamlessly with the natural beauty of the land. These efforts not only provided protection, but also employment for many, fostering a sense of purpose and unity. Trade, a cornerstone of Zimwanda's prosperity, was revitalized. Mwamba forged new alliances with neighboring tribes, emphasizing mutual respect and benefit. These partnerships brought a wealth of goods and knowledge into Zimwanda, enriching its culture and economy. The marketplace of Nzinga once again buzzed with activity, a vibrant symbol of the kingdom's resurgence. Amidst these endeavors, Mwamba did not forget the importance of healing the hearts and minds of his people. He organized festivals and ceremonies to honor their traditions and celebrate their resilience. Storytellers recounted tales of bravery and perseverance, musicians played melodies that lifted spirits, and dancers moved with a grace that spoke of their indomitable will. In this period of renewal, Mwamba also turned his attention to education. He established centers of learning where the young and old alike could study the arts, sciences, and history of their land. Wise scholars from distant regions were invited to share their knowledge, creating a rich tapestry of learning that would empower the people of Zimwanda for generations to come. As the kingdom flourished, Mwamba remained vigilant. He knew that the shadows of betrayal could linger, and he worked tirelessly to ensure that the lessons of the past were not forgotten. His leadership, characterized by strength and compassion, earned him the unwavering loyalty of his people. Within the palace, Mwamba's family played a crucial role in the kingdom's resurgence. His wife, Queen Amina, known for her wisdom and kindness, spearheaded initiatives to support women and children. Her presence brought a nurturing spirit to the realm, complementing Mwamba's efforts with grace and empathy. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the land, Mwamba stood on the palace balcony. He gazed upon the bustling city of Nzinga, the laughter of children and the hum of daily life, a testament to the kingdom's revival. His heart swelled with pride and determination, for he knew that Zimwanda, though scarred by its trials, had emerged stronger and more united. The winds of change had swept through Zimwanda, leaving in their wake a kingdom reborn. Mwamba, with the support of his people and the wisdom of the elders, had guided his realm through darkness and into the light. The legacy of Zimwanda's resilience and strength would endure, a beacon of hope for future generations. Life in Zimwanda began to stabilize, and the kingdom once again thrived under Mwamba's reign. However, not all was serene. Far from Nzinga, in the dense forests where whispers of ancient spirits lingered, unrest brewed. Some remnants of Nyoroge's loyalists, embittered by their loss, conspired in secrecy. They harbored a deep grudge against Mwamba, blaming him for their fallen status. In a hidden enclave, under the cover of towering trees, these dissidents met. Their leader, a man named Kiba, had been one of Nyoroge's closest confidants. Kiba was a formidable warrior and a shrewd tactician, his mind teeming with schemes to reclaim power. He rallied those still loyal to Nyoroge's memory, promising them retribution and a return to the old ways. Kiba's group began to launch small, calculated attacks on the outskirts of the kingdom. They raided villages, spreading fear and uncertainty. News of these attacks reached Nzinga, and the people grew anxious. Mwamba, ever vigilant, convened a meeting with his council and military leaders to address this new threat. In the council chamber, discussions were heated. Some advocated for an aggressive crackdown, while others urged caution. Mwamba listened intently, weighing each opinion carefully. He decided to send scouts to gather intelligence on Kiba's movements and fortify the affected villages. Among the scouts was a young woman named Nyasha. Known for her sharp mind and unmatched agility, Nyasha was tasked with infiltrating Kiba's ranks to uncover their plans. Disguised as a wandering healer, she ventured into the forests, her heart steeled with determination. Nyasha's journey was perilous, but her resolve never wavered. She skillfully blended into the rebel camp, earning their trust with her feigned allegiance and healing skills. Over time, she gathered crucial information about Kiba's plans and his supporters. Nyasha discovered that Kiba intended to incite a larger rebellion, aiming to overthrow Mwamba during a significant upcoming festival in Nzinga. With this vital information, Nyasha made her way back to Nzinga. Her return was marked by urgency, and she was granted an immediate audience with the king. In the grand hall, Nyasha relayed all she had learned, her voice steady despite the gravity of her news. Mwamba, recognizing the severity of the threat, acted swiftly. He ordered his generals to prepare the kingdom's defenses and devised a strategy to counter Kiba's plans. On the day of the festival, extra guards were discreetly positioned, and the people of Nzinga were subtly prepared for potential danger without inciting panic. The festival day arrived, and Nzinga was adorned with vibrant decorations. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the aroma of delicious foods. Beneath this cheerful veneer, Mwamba's forces stood ready. As the festivities reached their peak, Kiba and his rebels launched their attack, believing the kingdom unprepared. Mwamba's foresight and Nyasha's bravery turned the tide. The rebels were met with a well-coordinated defense. The people of Zimwanda, inspired by their king's leadership and their desire to protect their homeland, stood firm. The battle was fierce, but Kiba's forces were ultimately overwhelmed. Kiba himself was captured and brought before Mwamba. In the aftermath, Mwamba addressed the kingdom. He spoke of unity, resilience, and the importance of standing together against those who sought to divide them. Kiba and his followers faced justice, but Mwamba tempered his judgment with mercy, offering them a chance at redemption and integration into society, should they renounce their violent ways. Nyasha, hailed as a hero, was honored for her courage and intelligence. Her actions had saved Zimwanda from potential ruin, and her name became a symbol of bravery and loyalty. The festival, despite its tumultuous interruption, ended in a renewed sense of solidarity and hope. As the sun set over the kingdom, casting a warm glow over the land, Mwamba reflected on the events. The threats had been real and the dangers grave, but through unity and unwavering resolve, Zimwanda had once again prevailed. The spirit of the kingdom, forged in the fires of adversity, shone brighter than ever. With Kiba's rebellion quelled and the kingdom's unity reaffirmed, peace settled once again over Zimwanda. Yet the tranquility was accompanied by the whispers of ancestors, guiding and cautioning the living from the unseen realms. Mwamba, ever attuned to the spiritual currents of his land, felt a deep calling to reconnect with the old ways and honor the spirits that watched over Zimwanda. The elders spoke of a sacred grove deep within the heart of the forest, where the voices of the ancestors were strongest. It was a place where few dared to tread, a sanctuary of ancient power and wisdom. Mwamba decided to embark on a pilgrimage to this hallowed ground, seeking the guidance and blessings of his forebears. Accompanied by a small group of trusted advisors and spiritual leaders, Mwamba set out. The path to the sacred grove was fraught with natural obstacles and imbued with an eerie silence, as if the forest itself held its breath. The deeper they ventured, the more palpable the presence of the ancestors became, the air thick with the weight of their collective memory. Upon reaching the grove, Mwamba and his companions were greeted by a sight of ethereal beauty. Tall, ancient trees formed a natural cathedral, their branches interwoven to create a canopy that filtered the sunlight into a mosaic of light and shadow. In the center of the grove stood a towering baobab tree, its massive trunk adorned with carvings and offerings from generations past. Mwamba approached the baobab with reverence, laying his hands upon its rough bark. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer, seeking wisdom and strength from the ancestors. The air grew still and a profound silence enveloped the grove. Mwamba felt a deep connection, as if the very essence of the land and its history flowed through him. In this moment of communion, visions began to unfold before his inner eye. He saw the history of Zimwanda, its triumphs and tribulations, the faces of those who had walked the land before him. He saw his father, King Bakari, who imparted words of wisdom and encouragement. He saw the struggles and resilience of his people and the unbroken chain of life that bound them all together. As the visions faded, Mwamba felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that his role as king was not just to lead in the present, but to honor the past and safeguard the future. He vowed to protect the land, preserve its traditions, and ensure that the voices of the ancestors would never be forgotten. The return journey from the grove was marked by a profound silence, each member of the group lost in their own reflections. Mwamba's mind was filled with plans to strengthen the cultural and spiritual fabric of Zimwanda. Upon their arrival in Nzinga, he called for a grand assembly, inviting all the elders, spiritual leaders, and representatives from every corner of the kingdom. In the assembly, Mwamba shared his experiences at the sacred grove and the wisdom he had received from the ancestors. He announced the establishment of new cultural initiatives, including the creation of a council of elders that would advise on matters of tradition and spirituality. He also decreed that the sacred grove would be protected as a place of pilgrimage and reflection for future generations. Under Mwamba's guidance, Zimwanda entered a period of cultural renaissance. Festivals celebrating the rich history and diverse traditions of the kingdom were held regularly. Artisans, musicians, and storytellers flourished, their works capturing the essence of Zimwanda's heritage. The kingdom's youth were educated in the ways of their ancestors, instilling in them a deep respect for their roots and a sense of pride in their identity. Mwamba's leadership, now deeply intertwined with the spiritual legacy of his forebears, brought a new depth to the kingdom's unity. The people of Zimwanda, guided by the wisdom of the past and inspired by the vision of their king, looked to the future with hope and determination. The land thrived, not just as a place of prosperity, but as a beacon of cultural richness and spiritual strength. Amidst the newfound cultural renaissance in Zimwanda, a mysterious figure appeared on the horizon. Word spread quickly of a stranger who had been seen in the distant outskirts, wandering the land with an air of purpose. This stranger, draped in tattered robes and carrying an ancient staff, intrigued the villagers with tales of far-off lands and forgotten lore. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across Nzinga, the stranger arrived at the capital. The townsfolk watched with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension as the enigmatic figure made their way to the palace. King Mwamba, informed of the stranger's presence, decided to grant an audience, intrigued by the possibility of learning from this traveler. In the grand hall, under the flickering light of oil lamps, Mwamba welcomed the stranger. The figure lowered their hood, revealing a face weathered by time and a pair of piercing eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the ages. The stranger introduced themselves as Amani, a wanderer and keeper of ancient knowledge. Amani spoke of distant lands and forgotten wisdom, sharing stories that captivated everyone present. They recounted the histories of other great kingdoms, their rise and fall, and the lessons that could be learned from their fates. Mwamba listened intently, recognizing the value in Amani's tales and the knowledge they carried. As days turned into weeks, Amani became a respected guest within the palace. They shared their knowledge with the council of elders, the spiritual leaders, and even the youth of Zimwanda. Amani's presence was a catalyst for deeper understanding and reflection, prompting discussions about the preservation of Zimwanda's heritage and the importance of learning from the past. One day, while exploring the palace archives with Amani, Mwamba came across an ancient manuscript that had long been forgotten. The manuscript detailed the existence of a powerful artifact said to be hidden within Zimwanda, which could bring great prosperity or destruction depending on its use. The artifact, known as the Heart of the Ancestors, was believed to be a source of immense spiritual energy. Intrigued and cautious, Mwamba and Amani delved into the manuscript, deciphering its cryptic passages and piecing together clues about the artifact's location. The manuscript spoke of a hidden temple deep within the sacred grove, a place even more ancient than the baobab tree. It warned that only those pure of heart and intention could harness the power of the heart of the ancestors. Mwamba, Amani, and a select group of trusted advisors set out to find the hidden temple. Their journey was arduous, taking them through dense forests and treacherous terrain. Along the way, they encountered various trials, each designed to test their resolve and purity of purpose. With Amani's guidance and Mwamba's unwavering determination, they overcame each challenge. After days of relentless pursuit, they finally stood before the entrance of the hidden temple. The structure, carved into the side of a mountain, was adorned with intricate symbols and ancient inscriptions. As they entered, a sense of awe and reverence washed over them. The air was thick with the energy of the ancestors, and the walls seemed to hum with a faint melodic vibration. In the heart of the temple, they discovered the artifact. The Heart of the Ancestors was a large crystalline structure, pulsating with a soft, ethereal light. Mwamba approached it with reverence, his heart filled with a mixture of trepidation and hope. He placed his hands on the crystal, and a surge of energy coursed through him, filling his mind with visions of Zimwanda's past and future. The artifact revealed the interconnectedness of all things, the delicate balance between nature, spirit, and humanity. Mwamba understood that the true power of the Heart of the Ancestors was not in its ability to grant wealth or power, but in its capacity to enlighten and unify. It was a symbol of Zimwanda's heritage, a reminder of the wisdom of the ancestors and the responsibility of the living to honor and protect that legacy. With newfound clarity, Mwamba and his companions returned to Nzinga. The artifact was placed in a sacred chamber within the palace, where it would be revered and protected. Amani, their purpose fulfilled, prepared to continue their travels. Before departing, they imparted one final piece of wisdom to Mwamba. Remember, true strength lies in understanding and harmony. Let the Heart of the Ancestors guide you, and Zimwanda will continue to flourish. As Amani disappeared into the horizon, the people of Zimwanda embraced the teachings of the Heart of the Ancestors. Mwamba's reign, now guided by ancient wisdom and spiritual insight, brought about an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The kingdom stood as a testament to the enduring power of knowledge, unity, and respect for the past. With the Heart of the Ancestors safely enshrined, Zimwanda continued to flourish under King Mwamba's enlightened rule. However, amidst the prosperity, a series of mysterious ailments began to afflict the people. The maladies were strange and varied, affecting both young and old, leaving the kingdom's healers puzzled and concerned. Among the healers was Malaika, a woman renowned for her knowledge of herbs and traditional medicine. She had inherited her skills from generations of healers in her family and was deeply respected in the community. Despite her extensive experience, even she struggled to understand the root of the new illnesses plaguing the kingdom. Malaika sought answers in the sacred texts and ancient scrolls of her ancestors, but nothing seemed to explain the sudden onset of these ailments. Frustrated and worried, she decided to visit the sacred grove, hoping to find guidance from the spirits of the ancestors. Under the moonlit sky, Malaika entered the grove. The air was filled with the soft rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. She approached the ancient baobab tree, the centerpiece of the grove, and knelt before it, whispering a prayer for wisdom. As she closed her eyes, a vision began to take shape in her mind. In her vision, she saw a vast, shimmering lake at the heart of the forest. The lake's waters sparkled with an otherworldly light, and its surface was perfectly still. Standing at the edge of the lake was an old woman, her face lined with age but her eyes bright with knowledge. The woman beckoned Malaika to come closer. Malaika found herself transported to the edge of the lake, standing beside the old woman. The woman introduced herself as Nyota, a revered ancestor and healer from a time long past. Nyota explained that the source of the ailments lay in a disturbance within the land itself. The balance between the natural and spiritual worlds had been disrupted, causing the maladies to manifest among the people. Nyota revealed that deep beneath the lake lay a hidden spring, a source of pure, healing water that could restore balance. However, the spring had been blocked by dark forces, preventing its healing properties from reaching the surface. To restore the flow of the spring, Maleka would need to undertake a sacred ritual, one that required great courage and purity of heart. The vision faded, and Maleka found herself back in the grove, filled with a sense of urgency and purpose. She returned to Nzinga and sought an audience with King Mwamba, sharing her vision and the guidance she had received from Nyota. Mwamba, recognizing the importance of her revelation, immediately offered his support. Preparations for the ritual began in earnest. Maleka gathered the necessary herbs and ingredients, while Mwamba organized a group of warriors to accompany her to the lake. The journey to the lake was arduous, but Maleka's determination never wavered. Upon reaching the lake, the group set up camp, and Maleka began the preparations for the ritual. As the night fell, a hush descended over the lake. Maleka stood at the water's edge, chanting ancient incantations and casting the herbs into the water. The air grew thick with a palpable energy, and the surface of the lake began to ripple. Maleka continued her chants, calling upon the spirits of the ancestors to aid in their endeavor. Suddenly, the waters of the lake parted, revealing a glowing pathway that led to the hidden spring. Maleka, with Mwamba and the warriors by her side, descended into the depths. They reached the spring, its waters shimmering with an ethereal light. Maleka approached the blockage, a mass of dark, twisted roots, and began to work her magic. With each chant and gesture, the roots slowly unwound, releasing their grip on the spring. The water began to flow freely, its light intensifying as it surged towards the surface. Maleka felt a wave of relief and gratitude wash over her as the balance was restored. Returning to the surface, they watched as the lake transformed, its waters now glowing with a serene, healing light. The ailments that had plagued Zimwanda began to dissipate, the people recovering swiftly as the healing waters spread their restorative power. Mwamba declared a day of celebration and gratitude, honoring Maleka for her bravery and dedication. The kingdom rejoiced, and the bond between the people, their king, and the land grew stronger than ever. Under the watchful eyes of the ancestors, Zimwanda continued to thrive, its future as bright as the healing waters of the sacred lake. With the ailments healed and the kingdom thriving once more, King Mwamba felt a deep sense of peace and accomplishment. The land of Zimwanda had faced numerous trials, but each challenge had only served to strengthen the unity and resilience of its people. As the years passed, Mwamba continued to rule with wisdom and compassion, always guided by the lessons of the ancestors and the knowledge of the heart of the ancestors. One day, an emissary arrived from a distant land, bringing news of a grand council of African kingdoms. This gathering was to be a historic event where leaders from across the continent would come together to share knowledge, forge alliances, and discuss matters of mutual interest. Mwamba saw this as a remarkable opportunity to further strengthen Zimwanda's ties with neighboring realms and to learn from the diverse experiences of other kingdoms. Preparations were made for Mwamba's journey to the council. He chose a delegation of trusted advisors, including Maleka and several elders, to accompany him. The journey was long, but the anticipation of the gathering filled them with excitement and hope. Upon arriving, they were greeted with great respect and hospitality, as the reputation of Zimwanda and its wise king had spread far and wide. The council was a vibrant assembly of cultures and traditions, with leaders exchanging ideas and stories. Mwamba shared the tale of Zimwanda's trials and triumphs, emphasizing the importance of unity, respect for traditions, and the guidance of the ancestors. His words resonated deeply with the other leaders, and many sought his counsel on matters of governance and spirituality. During the council, Mwamba formed lasting alliances with several kingdoms, pledging mutual support and cooperation. These alliances brought new opportunities for trade, cultural exchange, and shared knowledge. The bonds forged at the council enriched Zimwanda, as the kingdom welcomed new ideas and innovations while sharing its own wisdom and traditions. As the council drew to a close, Mwamba was approached by an elder from a distant kingdom. The elder spoke of a prophecy that foretold the coming of a great leader who would unite the peoples of Africa in peace and prosperity. The elder believed that Mwamba, with his wisdom and compassionate leadership, could be the key to realizing this vision. Mwamba was humbled by the elder's words, recognizing the immense responsibility and potential of such a prophecy. He returned to Zimwanda with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to continue his efforts to foster unity and understanding, not just within his kingdom, but across the continent. Back in Zimwanda, Mwamba initiated new programs to strengthen the kingdom's infrastructure, education, and cultural preservation. He established centers for learning and cultural exchange, where scholars from different kingdoms could come together to share their knowledge and experiences. These centers became beacons of enlightenment, attracting students and thinkers from far and wide. Under Mwamba's leadership, Zimwanda flourished as a center of culture, knowledge, and unity. The kingdom's prosperity was not measured solely in wealth, but in the strength of its community and the richness of its traditions. The people of Zimwanda, inspired by their king's vision, embraced a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect that transcended borders. As Mwamba grew older, he began to prepare for the future, ensuring that the values and principles that had guided his reign would continue to shape Zimwanda. He mentored the next generation of leaders, instilling in them the importance of wisdom, compassion, and respect for the past. In the twilight of his reign, Mwamba looked upon his kingdom with pride and gratitude. The legacy of Zimwanda was not just in its achievements, but in the unity and strength of its people. As the sun set over the land, casting a golden glow over the fields and forests, Mwamba knew that the spirit of Zimwanda would endure for generations to come. And so, the tale of King Mwamba and the kingdom of Zimwanda became a cherished story, passed down through the ages, a testament to the power of unity, wisdom, and the enduring legacy of the ancestors.